Welcome to the UFFS Podcast with Darren Bates and Larry Fisher. Shining a spotlight on the most realistic fantasy sports platform ever. If it happens in Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports, you'll find out here. UFFS, you own the game.
And welcome to the UFFS official podcast number 25. I'm Bates. He's Fish. It's our silver anniversary, Fish. It's almost like I feel like I should ask you for a dance or something. It'd be kind of weird, but hey, you know, anything's possible. This is a big celebration. It's a big day.
Yeah, lots to celebrate today. Obviously, like I said, silver anniversary, 25th episode of the UFFS podcast. But for yourself, Darren, you're a father. It's also Father's Day, so big happy Father's Day to Darren and all the fathers within the UFFS community.
Yeah, it's a good day. Don't even have a round of golf booked today, but we can talk about the UFGA, which we will today. Franchise auction dates are set and stuff like that. But and happy Father's Day to you as well, Fish. I know you have your fur babies, and that can actually be a lot more work sometimes than a human baby. I know I have been there, and it's good training, by the way. But hey, I wanted to talk about we have a great guest coming up on the show here today, Fish. Very excited. A CFL All-Star, a two-time Grey Cup champion, CFL Hall of Famer. I mean, and just an all-around great guy and a gentleman. Nik Lewis. Very excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to know Nik better. From the roots, right? How he ended up in Canada and how he became the entertainer that he was. And I'm sure part of that was an act, but it'll be interesting to pick his brain and see, how he was as a person, how he was as a player, and how it all came to be. And then not only that, how his new venture took off with AO Sports and how that came to be. So great to the life and times of Nik Lewis. Can't wait to learn more. And like I said, he's such an engaging, interesting guy. It's going to be great to pick Nik's brain and really just have him be part of the UFFS community as well.
Pick his brain, we will, and I'm sure he won't mind his brain being picked because he's got a lot of great information. He's a great guy to talk to, so looking forward to that. Saw the one-headed catch against, of course, my Saskatchewan Roughriders up on the screen. Another one of those things that makes me see red, but, Nik's just a great guy. So we talked about the UFGA. We'll talk about that later. The UFAFL auctions also. Big scout announcement. I know you guys covered that off in the UFHL now, but this is really cool news. The Ultimate Roundtable, the first inaugural, happened. So we'll talk a little bit about that because I love the show. I thought it was great. And the new Ultimate Roundtable episode number 2 and what we're looking for there. All that and more. And Nik Lewis coming up right after this.
Time for a quick lineup change, but Bates and Fish will be back right away with today's guest.
I want to welcome Mr. Nik Lewis to the official UFFS podcast, and a happy Father's Day to you. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day on this very, very special day to join us here on this podcast. I got to tell you, Nik, what I'm wondering is how does a CFL All-Star, how do you handle or spend your Father's Day? And I don't know if your family's with you because I think you're in Texas right now, but I don't know, typically, even if it's not today, but other Father's Day or special days like this, what do you do? Do you get into a little scrimmage match on the front yard, a little game of catch? Do you invite everybody to pile on you, as I'm sure you've experienced in your history, or how does this work for a guy like you?
Man, I'm not really big on days, so it's good to get some recognition today from my daughter and the kids, but and share with the other fathers, tremendous fathers out there that do a great job raising their kids and are very dedicated to their kids' lives. So I miss a lot of time with my daughter playing football. I miss a lot of time with my family and coaching and doing things. So I always enjoy just reflecting, on my grandfather and my father and different things like that really makes today a little bit more special.
Absolutely. And you said it, it's an interesting dynamic as a pro athlete, a lot of time spent away from home. So the times you can be with family, obviously very important time. So this is what, and I'm thinking of time with family, time as a kid, and I'm thinking of yourself. And if you wouldn't mind, take us back, because this is very interesting stuff to me as an athlete. The young Nik Lewis. I was going to say, the small Nik Lewis, but I can't envision a time when you were actually ever small. So the young Nik Lewis, probably pretty decent at all sports. In going to school, good athletes were always usually pretty decent at almost everything they did. But what kind of got you into football? Was that always the plan, or how did that all come about in your younger days?
Yeah, I was very small. I was always the smallest guy on the field growing up, playing football and doing things. So I started off playing soccer was my first sport. Loved soccer. Used to play that, and my sister still plays college soccer now. So I started off with soccer, and then it moved to baseball and basketball shortly after soccer. And I remember my friend, one of my best friends, Clint, came over to my house one day and was just like, "Man, I play football, and it's so much fun." And I was like, "Where you play football at?" They don't have a team here. So the next year, so my fourth grade year was the first year I played football, and I just remember getting hurt the first practice, rolled my ankle. They put a cast on my foot, so I had a cast on my foot. I couldn't practice anymore. Game day came around, and I persuaded the doctor to take the cast off my foot so I could play, and he did. And I went out and played and did well, scored 4 touchdowns, and then that was it from there. But being in Texas in the summer, like right now, it's hot, and especially August is the hottest month. So 2-a-days in that heat with the humidity, it is horrible. So by the time I got to high school, I didn't want to play football anymore. My high school football coach and the athletic director, he basically made me play football. He said, "You can't play basketball," which is my favorite sport, if you don't play football. So I played football, and it worked out pretty well for me.
Yeah, I would say it worked out very well indeed. So you talked about, how you got into football, and it always takes that person or a certain group of people to inspire you, to get around you, to lift you up. And like you said, somebody made you play football because obviously they recognize the talent. So is there anybody in your life, whether it was a teacher, a coach, maybe a professional athlete that you had idolized and inspired you to continue on that path?
I think it comes from a lot of people. My grandparents, my mother and father, just how they set everything in front of me to allow me the best opportunity to grow up and go be what I wanted to be. And, Michael Irvin is somebody I've always looked up to. I was like, I want to play the game like he plays it. I want to be very physical. I want to be able to go out and make plays. He's the original playmaker. And he's one of the guys that I really look to. And that's something I talk to kids about today is I understood the trouble that Michael Irvin got into off the field. But to me, it wasn't about who he was as that. It was about who he was on the field. That's what I seen every week when I turned the games on, and that's what I wanted to do, right? So I was able to separate the two people, right, from the entertainer and the athlete to the other. And then Tacoma Fontaine, my cousin, who played arena football, played in the NFL for a minute, but he's the guy that was around for pretty much day one that gave me the ability to understand what it was to be a pro athlete, how to be an entertainer, more than just going out and making plays, but how to entertain people. And watching him we go to his games when he's playing arena football. And when I was in college, we'd go to Austin to watch him play for the Austin Wranglers and different things like that. So, all those people just give you so much. And sometimes I don't even know they're giving it to you, but you're paying attention, you're watching, you're learning.
And going back to your first time out on the gridiron, Nik, whether it's your first training camp in grade 4 or whatever the case, talk about the emotions becoming a football player. And when did you get slotted as a receiver? When did you realize this was going to be the position where you could excel at?
Well, growing up, I always loved the receivers, right? So my favorite 3 receivers growing up was Michael Irvin, Chris Carter, and John Taylor. And it's always makes people laugh when they say John Taylor. Like, how do you love John Taylor? He was on the other side of Jerry Rice. And I said, I know. I've seen what he did, though. I love the way he played the game and approached the game. And it's one of those things for me is that's what I always enjoyed is how certain people attack the game. Chris Carter had great hands and everything. So growing up, I was a running back first, and I played linebacker. And then by the time I got to high school, I wanted to play receiver. And, coach said, look, you're going to play. And I said, okay, if I'm going to play, I'm going to play receiver. I don't want to play running back anymore. He says, fine. So then I became a receiver. And, I was 5'1", 114 pounds my freshman year in high school, so ninth grade. So I was very small, running around out there. And then I grew to about 5'8", 5'9" by my junior year, 11th grade year, around 170. And that's where I played at, 5'10", 170, all the way through high school. So I played receiver and defensive end, and then quarterback my senior and defensive end. And that's a crazy story, too, playing quarterback. So they said, hey, if you want the ball, you want to touch the ball every play, or you want to touch it 5 times a game? I said, I'll touch it every play. Let's go.
That's awesome. Especially, like I said, being the playmaker and idolizing those guys. Like I said, John Taylor, Chris Carter, kind of consummate professional type guys. But obviously Michael Irwin, a playmaker. And then you have guys, Jerry Rice, a playmaker. And then you have guys kind of more in your generation too, like guys like Randy Moss and Terrell Owens and Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson. But talk about where did that come from? The real swagger, the flamboyant side, because you are an entertainer and that's what you're known for. That's why you were such a fan favorite in the CFL, is because you played with that swagger and that chip on your shoulder, but you were an entertainer as much as you were an athlete. Where did that come from? Is that just natural to your personality, or is that really watching those guys that did it in the NFL and your idols growing up and trying to make that part of your game?
Well, I think for the most part, Tacoma Fontaine won. But two, I was a huge WWE fan. So I used to watch it, and they call it curtain to curtain, like you put on that image and everything. So going through my career, they called me the Candy Man in college because I used to have airheads in my socks. So when I score, I pull an airhead out and rip open the package and eat it in the end zones and stuff like that. So it was really cool to be able to do cool things like that and to be able to go out and entertain people, right? At the end of the day, people play their hard-earned money like to come watch you play. So you have to be more than just a really good football player. You have to entertain them. And so for me, seeing the WWE, going through everything that they did, putting on a show, I wanted to be that, right? I knew to be the champion, you had to be the most hated or the most loved. So when I walked in other people's stadiums from the CFL, my first thought in my head was, I want everybody in the stadium to know who I am. So then, if you remember my rookie year, there was Geronimo Jones, right? Geronimo Jones was the guy, he did interviews, he talked, he was on the field, and he was the one that really set everything in motion. And then when certain things would happen through my career, I would create a new alter ego. When we got Tom Higgins, Higgins didn't really like me too much. He thought I talked too much. So I created Simon Sleepwalker, which I felt like I was sleepwalking through that season. We were losing. We wasn't doing very well. It was one of my, I think, only 2 losing seasons as a Stampeder. It was one of them. And, it was so just creating these different alter egos that had a character that goes along with them that I can go out and play to the crowd, right? When I got a first down and I knew I was coming to Sask and I knew they hated my first down celebration, that year I made a different sport celebration. So whether it was being a pitcher and I'm pitching, rocking forward through the first down, or I'm bowling a first down. So it's just coming up with all those different things from different sports that just pulls at the crowd just a little bit more, makes that person say, that's why I really hate that guy, right? Or if we're in Calgary, that's why I really love that guy, right? So it was so much more than just catching the football and doing that. I wanted to really put on a show for the people that came to watch. And, it's easy to sit at home and watch the game, but when you can be a fan and you can come to the game, you can enjoy the atmosphere and just appreciate the talent. I think that's where, I know that's where it becomes something special. So that's what I always wanted to be.
Man, Nick, I'm looking at the screen right now, and you can see, your stats, just over 1,000 yards, total receptions, reception leader in the CFL, almost 14,000 yards, 71 touchdowns. That's a lengthy career. Number one, that's huge to play that long. I think 15 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. In football is
14.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
14 years. That's an extraordinary long time for a pro athlete in the game of football. And congratulations, obviously, 2021 CFL Hall of Fame inductee. Well deserved, and many congratulations on that. How tell us what that Hall of Fame induction means to you.
It's great. Getting a call from Matt Dunnigan just takes me back to the first day that I got a call from him to come to training camp in 2004. And it was almost a full circle moment to be there. But, it's a selfish thing as an athlete. You got to dedicate yourself to the sport. You have to dedicate yourself to working out. You leave home for 6 months, sometimes longer. You have to be selfish in your pursuit of all these different goals. And everybody else around you has to really structure their lives around you, whether your games or practices. During the season, you don't get holidays, right? I'm used to on this day practicing in training camp, right? Or we're coming out, we're playing a season. So it's one of those things where you never get a holiday during the season because it depends on when the game is when you have to practice and when you have to show up and be ready to play. So for me, being in the Hall of Fame or getting inducted this year is my thank you to my family, my friends, and everyone that sacrificed and came to watch me play or came to always supported me and different things like that. So this is really for them. I had my 14 years as a player. I enjoyed it, but this has nothing to do with me. I'm just the representative and the vessel that gets to bring this whole group of people in the Nik Lewis Nation into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame.
Nick, you and I have talked before, and I said, I'm a fan. Obviously, I think first and foremost, you can see, and I don't know if I'm up on the screen right now, but I've got, I'm a fan of small guys because I'm not a big guy myself. So Weston Dressler, obviously, huge fan of Weston Dressler. I've got his signed jersey up on my wall. And obviously, and I've told you this before.
Receiver. Yeah,
absolutely. The guy's phenomenal. And the punishment he takes, right, as a small guy too, I can't even fathom. But, a big Rider fan. I'm a huge CFL fan. I watched you on many occasions on the field as a Saskatchewan Rough Rider season ticket holder. Now I live near Winnipeg, so I'm a Blue Bomber season ticket holder, mostly so I can watch the Riders, of course. But I watched my Riders get beat. A lot of times it was because of Nik Lewis with the Calgary Stampeders, and I saw red. But, the entertainment value you talked about in the WWE, now it's all making sense to me because you were an entertainer. And when you go to the live games, that's what fans want. Yeah, you can watch this on TV, but I love that love-hate relationship that gets going, especially when players taunt the crowd a little bit. Obviously, there's limits, but I know, pushing the envelope just a little bit just makes that live game experience a lot more exciting no matter what sport it is. So I love that all that you did to contribute to that was so much fun seeing that. And again, it gets me revved up and it just makes that fan experience so much more fun. So I appreciate all that you've brought to the game. What I wanted to know though is like how did the CFL come about from a guy who, obviously played, high school and college football in the US. And really, I have no idea how the CFL part of it came into being.
Well, I was a Division II walk-on, didn't have a scholarship. And the interesting part was I played in a high school football all-star game called the Oil Bowl in Childress, Texas. And I got into that as a receiver, even though I played quarterback my senior year. I got into the game as a receiver, and I ended up winning MVP. I think I had 9 for 185 and 3 touchdowns and won MVP of that game and was able to solidify myself at Southern Arkansas by telling the coaches, hey, look, I'm a receiver. I'm not a quarterback. Southern Ark ran the wishbone, so we were option offense. They liked the fact that I could break tackles and run with the ball and do things. And I was like, man, I'm a receiver. I don't want to play quarterback any longer. They moved me to the back of the depth chart, but by the end of training camp, I was one of the 4 receivers that were traveling. And just going through that whole journey, I never thought I'd play pro football. Through my senior year, everybody's talking about, can't wait to see you on Sundays. Didn't really believe it, didn't really trust it until after my last game. The next day, I had messages on the I don't even know what it's called anymore. What is that? The answering machine on your phone back in the day. So I had messages from agents that wanted me to come in, and was talking to one where I really liked what they did. They represented Tim Montgomery, Marion Jones in track. They had some baseball guys. They didn't have football. They wanted to go towards football. They're bringing a guy in to help them go into football. He had represented, or he currently represented, a couple NFL players that were starting in the NFL. And, so we were on that path. I ended up signing with that agency, and I was projected 5th-round pick to the Packers to replace Chapman to be their punt returner. Because in college, my senior year, I averaged 21.9 yards a punt return. I was a great punt returner. I was going to be a slot receiver. And, everything was great. So I hung out with Donald Driver at the Super Bowl and Alonzo Highsmith, who was their scout. I thought everything was going in that direction there in Houston. And, 2 weeks for the draft, the guy that was doing the football stuff got fired from my agency. And I never heard anything else from Highsmith or never heard anything else from the Packers. So I don't know what happened, how it fell apart, but it did. And once that happened, I got the call to go to Arena 2 football, where they make $200 a week, and went and did a workout. Fortunately, John Jenkins was the head coach there, and just went to Calgary the coming season to be the offensive coordinator for Matt Dunnigan. And Flipper Anderson was the coach now, and was the OC when Jenkins was there. And went through a practice. He wanted me to start that weekend. I said, hey, I got to work out for the Stamps. He was like, John Jenkins just left to go be the OC there. So I believe he put in a phone call, because out of the 150-something players at that camp, I was the only one to get an invite to training camp. So I truly believe going to that workout paid a benefit in the back end, because if an NFL receiver like Flipper Anderson can validate you and do that, then I think that really helped play in my favor. And, coming to Canada was it was good. I worked out for Montreal the following week. They had no interest in me whatsoever. So it was you never know what they're looking for, right? And I found that crack in the wall. I got an opportunity, and I just made the best of it.
And especially hitting the ground running in the CFL, being the rookie of the year in your first season. Talk about just adjusting to life in Canada on and off the field, but to have that initial success be rookie of the year, which really set you up for the next 14 seasons.
Yeah, John Jenkins' offense, man, it was get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, let the receiver catch the ball and make plays, right? That's where – and I was known for my yak, and it stems back from playing quarterback. My vision got so much better playing quarterback, been able to see the field better, been able to understand what the quarterback's looking at, their different things, and doing all those things pre-snap and then post-snap was, if it came down to breaking tackles and making people miss, that's what I was really good at. And I love that. And playing in that option offense in college, the safety is going to come downhill to take out the pitch man. And that's where I come back and crack back on safeties and things. So everything that I'd been through was help mold who I was on the field on a consistent basis in football, right? So the quarterback played a tremendous aspect of that. And then just go out there and catch the ball. I could always catch the ball. I had big hands, so made it very simple to go out there and catch and run. So, yeah, man, it was great. It was great. It was obviously it was something that you didn't know about. Like, I remember, I still can hear in my head right now during training camp, being a rookie, and they say starters in the huddle, and I'd run and get in the huddle, and Andre Arlane would just tell me, get out of the huddle, rookie, right? And then they would have to take me out. And then one day they didn't take me out anymore. And I remember being able to start the first preseason game. I believe it was against Winnipeg in Calgary, and having, 70-something yards in that. And I remember doing the interview before the game, sitting on the sidelines in a chair, and they're asking me, "Are you nervous about the game?" I said, "I've been doing this my life," and I was very confident in what I could do. I was very confident in being able to go out there and execute, and I was just ready to go have fun.
Right on, and obviously having fun. The CFL has, as we talked about earlier, it's allowed athletes to express themselves. It's always a debate over showboating and touchdown celebrations, and you were allowed to sort of express yourself as an athlete and be an entertainer in the CFL, and obviously you have a close connection to the CFL, having now been a Hall of Famer there, and just that league means a lot to you. So what does it mean to you to see the league getting, after missing last season, and as living in Canada, it was such a void up here not having the CFL, but to have a schedule, have it back this season, and to hopefully see it kick off and get back to where it was. What does that mean to you now as a CFL fan?
Man, I love the fact that it's back, and it's going to help people so much because, right now there's so much negativity with politics and with injustice going on through the world. And I'm not saying just take your eyes away from it, but it's good to focus on some things that can help bring people together and not just everything that's going to divide people. And so having sports back is a great way to do that. Hearing that Calgary is going to be completely open after July 1st and no mask mandate, nothing, and they're going to just open up. It's really exciting. It's really a great time for people to have sports back in Canada so they can be a part of it, put smiles on the face. You wake up, that first week that, in August where that game's going to be on that Thursday or Friday, you already know what your feeling is going to be that whole week. You're going to have a positive mindset. The most important thing is, as a fan, is I'm going to be able to watch this game. I'm going to be able to see this, and it's going to bring so much joy and happiness. And I've been reading a book called The Winner Effect, and one of the biggest things that I've learned in there is, even as a fan, they've taken people's testosterone levels before the game and after, and you'd be amazed how much more testosterone someone has after watching their team win, right? And that's just pure joy of what you do and your positivity towards that team. And so I'm looking forward to seeing these great athletes get back on the field and compete. Man, it's been so long since I've seen Brian Burnham make a great catch, right? And it's going to happen. It's just like, okay, what game is it going to be? So I'm looking forward to being a supporter of the CFL, supporting the guys and being able to help them in any way that I can from a financial standpoint to get them back to where they were, if not a better place.
Nik, you're such a positive person. I've talked to you a couple of times before, and that's what I really appreciate about you. You have great ideas. You're always looking, you're thinking outside the box. But you talk about this testosterone. You just brought back a memory that I've had to shelve for a year and a half with no CFL. So I am prepared to get on the Bomber fan bus that I take to the games, wearing green, and it's usually Western dresser, which really actually confused the Bomber fans there in the last few years because they really didn't know what to say because, of course, he went to Winnipeg there for a brief period. They started to say something, then they kind of didn't really know what to do. But I do take my beatings on that bus. I wear green to the games, whether or not the Riders are playing in Winnipeg. And I think I need a shot of that testosterone probably before I get on the bus. But what I wanted to get at was, I felt bad with no season for the players. I was these guys still have families, right? Their career's short enough already. They're really in flux. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know when it's going to happen. They didn't even know when training camp was going to happen. And so we talk about the players and giving back to the players. And this is a great segue into your new your new thing with AO Sports, athlete owned, or what we say, AO. I think that's how you do it. I don't know if I got that right, Nick. But yeah, you can correct me on that. But we want to certainly finish off this interview in learning all about AO Sports. I see you're wearing the shirt. We have a partnership with you guys along with UFFS. But tell us first and foremost just about AO Sports, the premise, the concept, and what's going on with AO Sports. Yeah,
and just to touch on what you were talking about the guys that miss. I look at Charleston Hughes being 28 sacks from the all-time record, missing a season now. He's going to have to play until 39 or 40 to be able to break that record. And it's something that's tremendously hard already, but it's something that he's going to want to go for. And a guy like John Bowman, who missed his last season, was slated to play last year, and then this year he's not back with the team, and now he's done playing football, and it comes so quick. And he was 24 sacks from breaking the all-time record. So you see those different things from people like that. A couple people have retired. Delvin Breaux, another great player in the CFL, has retired now. So just seeing all those things like that, it makes me sad that they had to end their career like that. But AO Sports, man, athlete-owned, is about taking back. Athletes taking back their voices, being able to come out, create content that fans want to see. We're going to be fan engaging, putting on fan sports dream trips, being able to, I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he was like, man, this is the decentralization of content. And I was like, that's a perfect way to explain it. Athletes having full control over their content, their brand, and being able to create and explore, right? You lead with content because that's what people are interested in. And now you're going to be able to see how certain people go through their work weeks, how they do everything that they do, why they are the way they are, and so many other things, from documentaries and reality shows, and from leadership boot camps and mentorship programs. And if you want to learn how to run routes from me, or, I've trained kids for 14 years now. I was training a group of kids in Regina all through the snow. We were out there. It's minus 15, minus 20 degrees, running in snow. And it's something I love and I enjoy doing. I have a running back at Alabama, a receiver at Utah, and a defensive end linebacker at Northwestern. So I've trained all kinds of positions. I've done everything on that side of things. So I'm just looking forward to having one central hub for all athletes and all sports fans, right? No matter what fan your sport, your sports of choice, but we're going to have everything. I'm really excited about this brother-sister combination, number 12 and 13th in the world in racquetball. And now they're about to start their journey to get on the U.S. national team. And we're going to be able to see their journey and how they're doing and how they're progressing, but also understanding more about racquetball. So it's not just the major sports, it's everybody in here. And talking to UDL, the Universal Domino League, right, where dominoes is going to be like poker. Right, I've seen dominoes played in the backyard at every function that my family's ever had. Sometimes my dad and my cousin, they'll put up the domino table in the living room while they're watching sports and just start playing. So it's something that's going to bring so much positivity towards the interaction between fans and athletes, and then fans are going to get to experience so much more. So it's going to be great.
I love it. And, the synergy with UFFS, it's just, all sports, you talk about all sports. We've had conversations about lawn bowling, for goodness sakes, with UFFS, surfing, sports we haven't even thought of in different countries that we've never heard of, because you only think about usually where you grew up, your own backyard. You don't think about different cultures and different countries. But I want to also understand this on the AO Sports standpoint. So this is going to be content kind of like, would you call it a Netflix type sports only channel, where athletes actually have the chance to make some income back as a result of this? This is my understanding.
Yes. Yeah. So it's exclusive. So athletes are not able to just post on there. It's not Instagram and Twitter and Facebook type content. It goes a little bit deeper than that. And we want high quality content that we're able to do some editing and different things. So video cast, podcast, game day shows. So we'll have our own CFL. I have my show, the First Down Factory, that'll be coming out as well, probably at the end of July. We'll see the First Down Factory for the first time, which is going to prep you for the season. It'll be a weekly show where we've been able to do that. And I'm so excited about that opportunity to do the First Down Factory, something I was going to do last year. So you're going to get the athletes owning the shows instead of ESPN or TSN or Fox Sports and Sportsnet. So instead of them being the owners of the show, it's going to be the content creator or the athlete that's now the owner of the show. And then they're just choosing to distribute that show through AO Sports. and they will be financially good, stable, with bringing their following over to the AO Sports platform. Our monetization system pays more than just views, so you're able to make more money, and it's long term, right? So for athletes and sports content creators, if you're putting out good content, you have a good following behind you, you're going to be able to monetize that in a great way for a long time.
And I guess that at the core, it is giving back to the game, right, Nik? Obviously, I know you've done a lot of that with coaching and being involved in like I said, developing athletes, upcoming athletes. But do you feel like that connection between fan and athlete and the way AO Sports came together, a lot of it at the core is still giving back to the game and giving the athletes their control? But is that accurate that you wanted to find a way, because again, retirement sometimes comes suddenly for some people, and what do I do next, and how do I find my place in the game? And I don't know if you still do aspire to maybe coach at a college or university or CFL or a higher level coaching wise, but AO Sports seems like the perfect platform and the CEO role to have a big say in the direction of the game and really give back to the game, not just football, but like I said, all sports.
Yeah, we're going to be doing coaching clinics and different things like that. So we look at, there's got to be education. Everything leads with education. So we have to educate the younger athletes on what to expect, how to get there, right? There's got to be a roadmap. It's not one way to do it, but there's got to be a roadmap of understanding that you have to be consistent in everything that you do, from your effort to your attitude to everything that encompasses to be a pro athlete and to be successful at it. You can't be inconsistent, right? You have to be able to do things consistently at a high level to be there. And then if you can really do it that really well, then you can get to the Hall of Fame and the different things. But, bridging that gap between the fans and the players, for one, understanding fans to allow them to understand some of these players that you only see on TV 3 hours a week. And you're like, oh, I don't like this person, or this person is this, or this. Like, you don't know them, right? You don't understand that they go through certain things with their family, or they go through deaths in the family that's not always out there. And there's always different things that go on behind the scenes that fans aren't aware of. And then, we just cheer for our teams. But we really have to bridge that gap. You've already seen the NBA this year. There's been 3 instances from a player getting spit on, get a water bottle thrown at a guy, popcorn thrown in his head. Like, those 3 instances, like, that shouldn't happen. As a fan, you should always respect the fact that they're sacrificing so much to entertain you, right? You can't play pro sports without the athletes. You can't pay pro athletes without the fans, right? So the fans are just as important as the athletes, but now there's got to be a place to bring them to bridge those two together and understand that there's other people making a lot of money off of this, and it's not the athletes and it's not the fans. So how can we bridge this gap so the fans can get more access to the athletes, get more understanding of the athletes, and then the athletes being able to monetize that?
And part of that education, I guess, can be the entertainment value, how to be an entertainer. And maybe you touch on that in First Down Factory, but how to build your brand through your personality or your persona, as you mentioned with WWE. Is that part of it too? AO Sports can help not only on the field, but as far as building their brand and being an entertainer.
That's it. When I think about AO Sports, it started as a platform. Now it's all about the community. We're building a digital community that's going to be global. And I always ask myself, is this good for the community? When we're bringing in these partnerships and we're bringing these athletes in, are they good for the community, right? And that's the most important part, is really how does the community function and how does it flow? So it's great, man. It's just been it's been a blessing. I thank God every day for giving me the ability to think this. And, I've talked to people and they're like, man, that's a huge undertaking. Why would you want to do something so big? And I was just like, I feel like I was a calling of mine, right? I've always loved the media. So it's something that I've been fascinated with and I've always wanted to do. And now I get the opportunity to do it, but now I get the opportunity to do it my way. I know that there's certain things that I'm going to say that would get me kicked off of some major networks. They're not going to be premeditated, but it's just something that I'm a pretty open guy, and I talk very. I'm a fan of the sport, so if I see certain things or I feel certain ways, it's going to be something that it's got to be different, right? Another thing I'm creating is called the Fan Cave, where you're going to be able to watch the CFL game on your computer, on your phone, with a group of CFL players, right? So you're going to be able to come into the Fan Cave and watch the game, one game each week with a group of people, and we're going to be asking questions and talking about certain situations in the game and different things like that. So you get a different perspective of actually watching the game. I've live tweeted games a lot over my career. So now instead of live tweeting, I'm able to do that in the Fan Cave, right? We can do all kinds of different things in the Fan Cave, from polls and engagement. We're giving away prizes and different things as well. So it's just another fun way to interact with fans and enjoy what we're doing.
Nick, we heard the time, warning a little while ago, but I thought, for goodness sakes, we got Nik Lewis on the show, so I'm not too concerned about, going over time today. But we do have to, consider, the rest of the show on a bit of time limitations. And we also are going to be talking more in the future with the synergies with UFFS and AO Sports and all the great things that you guys are doing, bringing, the power back to the athlete, as you would say. And that's the UFFS's vision as well. And, I'm going to leave you with this thought, and we could talk about this all day long, but just the fact of, fans are always, fans of the athletes. But what I see with the synergy at AO Sports and UFFS is actually athletes also becoming fans of the fans, if that makes any sense at all, with this whole NFT stuff and cheering, for the franchise owner that has ownership of the NFT, which is going to translate value to the athlete as well as the franchise owner. There's just so much to talk about. There's so many exciting things in the future. And as we say, exciting times ahead, as we say in the UFFS. And I want to thank you so much for your time today on the show. And I'm going to end with Ayo! And maybe I'll get that better or louder. There it goes. Ayo. Come on, Fish. You got to do it. Let's hear it, Fish. Ayo! There we go. All right.
It just makes you feel so good, doesn't it? When you do it, you just feel good.
I just feel like I drank a whole case of Red Bull right now. That's how I feel after doing that. Yeah, I'm going to do it all day long. Thank you so much, Nik. And we'll be sure to touch base again on another podcast in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, so coming up, we are going to finish off with a whole bunch of different stuff that's happening in the UFFS stratosphere, the ecosystem. Fish and I got to talk about some franchise auctions coming up in the UFAFL, of course, the UFGA, and the Pro versus Rookie, UFHL, NFL playoff pool, which I think we have a very tight race. I know nothing. Pro knows it all. Rookie might come out ahead. We'll see what happens. And all that is coming up right after this.
This is the UFFS Podcast, Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports, where you own the game.
Heyo! I just, it makes me feel good just doing that. Go ahead.
Heyo!
There you go. Yeah, it makes me feel like I just drank a case of Red Bull. Hey, and even Dean's getting in on the game. Yeah, it's awesome. It does make you feel good. I don't know what it is. Nik makes me feel good. That was a great interview. Getting back to the roots, learning about, what he went through growing up, a small guy. I can relate to that, but I'm a lot smaller than Nik. Let me just put that right on the line right now. That's why I like my Western wrestlers and guys like that. But, just a great guy to talk to, out of the box thinker. That was a fantastic interview.
Yeah, it was awesome getting to know Nik on that level and just how personable he is and how much of an entertainer he is. Even I know he said he's a fan of the media, but he'd be perfect in any type of media role. And we've heard him on lots of radio interviews and stuff. And just a great all around guy, but certainly brings the entertainment value to the show as well. And I think another thing with Nik, I know you mentioned it in the show. You were brave enough to talk that you were a Riders fan, but likewise, I grew up in Saskatchewan. I was a Riders fan, kind of right around the time when Nik's career was taking off. I was just coming out of high school, so it was and plus I was a safety in high school, so I didn't like receivers and I didn't like the stamps. So it was he's an easy guy to like, though, right? I think that's the big takeaway with Nik is even if you despised him as a player, which was part of his act, part of the what he wanted was, like I said, every fan in the building either loved him or hated him, depending where he was playing. But easy guy to like off the field, and certainly a great guy to get to know.
Yeah, Fish, I am brave, sometimes a little too brave. Sometimes this thing gets me into a little bit of trouble. And as you can tell, I talked about wearing the green on the bomber bus, and I always ask for trouble when I go and do that. I'm kind of like I've been referred to as the Scrappy of the Scooby-Doo show, the Scrappy and Scooby-Doo, that guy who just likes to stir things up, just like Nick. So yeah, maybe we'll get along. Hey, speaking of football, franchise auction dates, we've been talking about this a lot. The UFAFL, July 16th to the 18th, with the last day wrap up in Las Vegas. 32 franchises up for grabs. We know Andy McNamara has been busier than heck. He's all over Telegram, keeping us up to date. We got Max, the UFAFL commissioner, and Jamie Thomas, head of scouting, all working really, really hard, keeping us up to date. We're only, 27 days away. 27 days away.
Yeah, less than a month. Those boys will be in Vegas along with the AO Sports, Nick and the guys, putting on the UFAFL franchise auctions from July 16th to July 18th, obviously closing on Sunday, July 18th, fitting for the football schedule is always big on a Sunday, and they're doing the 2-minute countdown to the end of the auction and resetting with extensions, and just the way that the whole UFAFL franchise auctions are coming together, and the fact it is going to be a live production with AO Sports. I think this is going to take everything to the next level when that's not the official kickoff. The kickoff's in September when the gameplay starts, but the franchise auctions is what's really going to take UFFS to the next level through thanks to the UFAFL.
Yeah, great work, and more details to come there, of course. It's going to be exciting, and it's going to be innovative, and it's going to be something that had never been seen before. Also talking about the UFGA, the franchise auction, some of the details have been announced. August 8th is the date. 25 franchises up for grabs, 8 players per franchise. New concept. This is an individual sport. It's not a team sport, so it's going to be kind of different. We're going to make our teams and have individual players put on those franchises. So I think this is going to be very innovative and exciting. And I'm actually, I shouldn't say I'm surprised. There's some definite interest from people already in the UFFS community wanting to purchase a golf franchise. So I'm looking forward to this one as well. Obviously, maybe not as big as football, but it might get to be there.
Yeah, and what a great time to talk about the UFGA as well. The final round of the US Open is playing out right now as we speak. And certainly I think the interest in dynasty franchise golf is something that's never really been done. A lot of golf pools, like we're doing, week to week pools with the UFGA, just fun contests. There's a lot of I guess you could call it fantasy golf that way, and betting's big in golf, and stuff like that on individual events. But to actually draft a roster of, like I said, 8 golfers and have that as your dynasty franchise that carries over from one season to the next or 1 year to the next, and really build out your franchise. And golf is going to have branding as well. These franchises are going to have names, they're going to have logos, they're going to have, and they're going to have scouts working for them, and maybe not affiliating with scouts, but there certainly is going to be a scouting aspect to golf. There's going to be scouts out there finding the next Tiger Woods, the next Dustin Johnson, all the rest, and bringing them up to the UFGA, developing them, and eventually auctioning them or selling them to the franchises. And it's going to work much the same as the UFHL, as the UFAFL, but for golf, which, like you said, is going to be on a whole new level of fantasy golf.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Hey, I don't know if you know this, Fish, but we have those weekly contests in the UFGA, those simple little contests. You pick a couple of golfers, you pick a golfer, and you pick 3, I guess, for each major, on the Pro Tour. So Nick Utley, GM of the Outlaws, he actually, we've bet before. We've had a side bet on this, and my wife always enters that contest. I never do. I never even know who she picks. But Nick and I placed another side bet again. But what's funny, Fish, is every single time that Nick Utley bets me, my does very well, and she beats him. And she's actually, I looked today, she's actually in second place right now. And it's only when I bet against Nick. So I actually hope that this little side betting thing continues. It's working out really well for me. And it makes it a little bit more fun, right? So it's a lot of fun. I want to also, talk about the inaugural Ultimate Roundtable with the 4 GMs, now that we were talking about Nick. And of course, We had, it just kicked off. It was yesterday on Saturday. We had Rob from the Godfathers, Jeremy from the Elite Assassins, Donnie from the Kamikaze, and Nik, as I mentioned, from the Outlaws. That was a great show. Great, production by Dean Millard, who's, producing our show here today. Great moderation there as well. And I'm looking forward to more of these. That was just a great show.
Yeah, I truly enjoyed it. I couldn't wait for it to come out because I wasn't, usually I'm the insider. I get to see the shows as they're filmed or as they're recorded, and I know what's coming. I know the topics. This was one of the shows where I could actually sit back and watch and enjoy, and everything was new to me. And I really thought all four GMs represented their franchises terrifically. Obviously, Jeremy Latta with the Assassins, Rob Conte with the Godfathers, Donnie Talk, who's one of the OGs, was with Rock Republic originally as their GM, bought his own franchise with Kamikaze. But to get to know Donnie a bit, he's been a big personality in the Telegram groups. Going back, predates me in the UFHL. I came on last June. Donnie was already one of the big GMs at the time there. So great to get to know Donnie a bit. And then Nick Utley, and he's fairly new or newer to the UFHL. This is his first season with the Outlaws, but he's got a great personality, and it really came out on the Ultimate Roundtable. He had a lot of insight and some good answers there. And you mentioned the golf and the betting, and I'm just hoping Nick doesn't want to put any money on more. He might try to win back some of that score coin or some of that betting that he's losing to you, because believe it or not, Nick's actually coming up to Kelowna next weekend, and we're going to try and play a round of golf. And I haven't met Nick in real life. It'll be a new encounter, but it's great to get out and meet and obviously play golf with the UFFS community as well. And so Nick's new to me, and it'll be great to get to know him better in person over a round of golf. But I haven't swung a club yet this year, Darren, and Nick's an active golfer, so I'll be pretty careful. It'll be the pro versus the rookie, and I'll be the rookie in that case. So hopefully we won't be putting anything more than drinks on the line.
Well, I might have jinxed it in actually talking about our little side bet in the UFGA contest. So, you actually had me thinking, my mind was racing thinking, well, I should take my potential winnings from this and put it on your golf game. But now I have a little bit insight. I need to think about this one. What I liked about on the round table is, of course, got some Brad Marchand shout outs. My feelings on Brad Marchand, another small guy, like the small guys, right? Jeremy and Rob talking about them. Rob, of course, had the merchandise. He had the Godfather's cup and logo in the background, which was really cool. And what was best is putting faces to the names and the personalities to them. You get that a little bit in Telegram to a certain extent, but it's not the same as seeing it on video and seeing opinions shared around the roundtable. That's what I like about the show. We've got, this is going to be a monthly installment, and if it works out well, which I think it will, we might even, go more frequent than just monthly. The next one coming up is going to be, I've already put the announcement in the Telegram chats. We're looking for invitees for scouts. And if July 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern time is a recording time that works for any scouts, would love to hear from you. You can DM me, or you can send me an email at darren.ufsn@uffsports.com. And again, I think it's going to be another great show. So looking forward to that one. We should, when we're talking about scouts, speaking of scouts, I know you guys covered this in the UFHL now, but, a couple of big things went down this last couple of weeks in the scouting world in the UFFS ecosystem there.
Yeah, we have some big names joining the UFFS scouting world, and we have kind of all along been bringing on more and more real world scouts, because they see this as, it is ultimately real world scouting, because every player, every prospect has value. It's not just the, most fantasy leagues, there's only, a 20-man roster or whatever, or 15-man roster and only 20 teams, or however it is. This is mirroring the real world one-to-one all the way through. So there's a lot of incentive for real world scouts to be able to monetize their eye for talent. And it's a pretty easy sell when you pitch it that way. And certainly got connected with Sam Costantino through obviously Dean Millard knew Sam, and Ed Palumbo from Instat connected me with Sam Costantino, and me and Sam talked hockey for 2 or 3 meetings, a few hours anyway, and really laid it out how the scouting world works in UFFS, and Sam loved it, and Sam turned around and called up his buddy Peter Lubardius and said, you can't believe what I'm doing now. I'm going to be scouting for UFF Sports, and this is so cool. And Peter wanted to set up a meeting and get to know more. And Peter, as we said, and we talked about it on UFHL now, but he is the encyclopedia of hockey knowledge. And So it was great for me to get a couple hours. It started off, we'll connect for a quick call. And I think we talked for almost 2 hours, all things hockey, junior hockey, minor hockey, NHL stuff. We missed most of a Montreal game. I think it was Montreal-Winnipeg playing at that time, but we missed most of the game because we were on the call talking, and I think we finally caught the end of the third period. But it was great to catch up with Peter, and he's a guy that I look up to who's done a lot in hockey, but certainly knowing him behind the scenes a bit, that he knows a ton about the prospects coming up as well. He's a hockey junkie. He can eat, sleeps, and breathes hockey as well as all sports. So Peter and Sam combined, joined forces, and they formed Salu Scouting. So they have an agency in UFF Sports, and they've been adding prospects almost every day since Sam got involved. And I believe they're up to 25 or 23 prospects now. So they're busy. They're scouring, because I'll be honest, Darren, the open market is pretty picked through right now. There's almost 3,600 hockey players registered, and this year's draft class and up to 2023 draft eligibles are pretty picked through. All the big names are gone, and Salu Scouting, Sam and Peter are still finding these diamonds in the rough, these hidden gems, and they actually registered a 6'6" Latvian or Danish defenseman. So they're looking all over the world, and they're finding some interesting prospects, as are the rest of our UFFS scouts. We have new scouts in Slovenia. We have a scout from Slovenia. We have a scout from Germany. The scout from Germany added 32 prospects the other day in one big swoop. So Alex Wenzel. So yeah, we certainly have a lot of new scouts from around the globe, including some big names here in North America and in Canada, and Sam Costantino and Peter Lubardius.
So obviously the scouting platform, we've said this many times, is very unique to fantasy hockey. It's something that UFFS has developed, and it's great to get that global perspective on the scouting side of things, because there are hidden gems. You got to get out into the weeds. You got to go global. You got to go find these prospects, and that's exciting. Great to have some big names involved in there as well. So looking forward to, it's going to be a busy month. I'm going to have to designate this the month of scouting, I think, in the UFFS. There's a lot of things happening in the scouting world, some very important dates as well.
Yeah, the July is the month of scouting. Normally it's June, because usually the NHL draft's the end of June. This year it's the end of July, or July 23rd, 24th is the NHL draft. But certainly the UFFS scouts will be releasing their final rankings on July 5th. I'll be releasing my top 64 for the futures auction on July 12th. We hope to do a mock draft for the NHL, as well as possibly the UFHL for July 19th, and then that we have the expansion draft is in there, obviously, for the franchises. Their deadline to submit protected lists is July 17th. The Bentley Jacks actual draft live event will be likely July 21st or July 22nd, depending how that works out. And then obviously the entry auction on the July 24th, and followed by the futures auction on July 25th. And then right away on July 26th, those 64 prospects will be auctioned off for 2024 eligible. So mostly the 2006 born prospects. And then the rest after that top 64 go to the open market. And the open market's going to be very busy on July 26th, and to close out the month of July into August, because a lot of these scouts, as much as they're watching the kids that are close to the teenagers that are close to the NHL, they're also watching these or researching these teenagers that are 14, 15 years old and are going to be the next wave, those hidden gems you talk about, Darren. As I always say, the real scouting happens on the open market. So as soon as that futures auction's over, the scouts are going to be busy trying to scoop up all the guys I missed in my top 64.
Well, I know you'll be keeping us up to date, as you always do, in Telegram, on the website, and of course, what is not there will be covered off in the UFHL. Now, of course, we're into baseball season. It's hard to believe, but we almost got to stop thinking about hockey. You got to talk about baseball. I know Dean Millard is all over that with Full Count Baseball, another great podcast on the UFSN network. And I just want to finish. We don't have to talk about it a lot, but we got to talk about this pro versus rookie contest. We got the UFHL NFL playoff pool. I think we're very close, Fish. I have to say, though, I feel like I'm sunk. I picked Vegas over Montreal, but I don't know what the heck Marc-Andre Fleury was doing. I just went, I'm done. I don't know. But I do have some bonus points coming if the Ice Vikings do manage to pull it off in the UFHL, but that's all I have going for me.
Yeah, and the only one I can bring up there, Darren, is we actually went the same right across the board. We both picked Vegas and Tampa Bay, and we both picked Red Army. Or no, sorry, we both picked the Ice Vikings, and the one that we didn't agree on was Red Army and Titans. And obviously, the insider who follows the UFHL very closely knew the Titans were down to one player, Andre Vasilevsky, and Red Army carried forward 11. And obviously, you submitted your picks before the article came out previewing this round and showing that the advantage there. So I'll get my 5 little points there. But you're right, if the Ice Vikings go all the way, you're going to get the conference or the final 2, as well as potentially the championship, the 5 and 10 bonus points. So I think it's going to be close down the stretch, but certainly it looks like there's still a very good chance for the rookie to pull ahead in the UFHL NHL playoff pool.
Absolutely, but so looking forward to inscribing a whole host of new names, new franchise owner name, and a new team name as well on the Klein Cup, which is in the hands right now of the inscriber. We're just waiting to find out who's going to take this thing home and hopefully get some celebratory pictures and everything else that goes along with it. It's a new year. It's a new era. It's been an interesting season in the era of the pandemic. So thank goodness I guess we're coming to a close and we can get back to some normalcy for the next season, but a lot of things happening. And it's been a busy show. There's always so much to talk about. A little bit week delayed because I think our podcasts are just so hot that I think we actually started Dean Millard's computer on fire. I think that was the reason. It's because we're so hot and spicy, Fish is what it is. But it's been a lot of fun catching up with everybody again. Great to have Nik on the podcast. Want to thank everybody for their time. Podcast Ellie, of course, in doing the production work for us behind the scenes. And of course, we are proudly broadcast on the Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network, and all our shows you can see here right now on the screen. I hope you can take them all in. If you can't, try and make the ones you can or fast forward through to the good parts. Thanks, Fish. Great to see you. We'll touch base again, I guess, in a couple of weeks on podcast number 26. Enjoy Father's Day with your fur babies. And that'll do it for episode number 25 for the official UFFS podcast. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and we will talk to you next time here at UFFS, where you own the game.
This has been the UFFS Podcast with Darren Bates and Larry Fisher. Get in the game where you own the game at www.uffsports.com.